Welcome to Tocca Talks, Kaisa Hammarlund.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you because I don't know you and I want to get to know you.
Thanks. I'm really excited to have you. Thanks for asking. That's cool. And on a rainy Wednesday in London town, what else are we going to do, right? So thanks for having me.
Exactly, because everyone is.
Tea ready?
Oh, you have your tea?
Oh yeah. Cup of tea, my Swedish mug. So
Swedish mug, yes, because you're Swedish. So it's a bit weird that we're now speaking English, but it's because of the show, and it's. Do you always speak with a British accent now?
Well, yes. I think on a daily basis, yes, this is my accent, and also because I trained. I went to drama school here, and I had the possible Swedish accent that I had then. I'd had that beaten out of me, so I'd spent a lot of time trying to perfect that accent, so I could, play with the big boys and girls once I'd graduated, so I could sound British and they wouldn't think that my name was weird and I couldn't speak. So yeah, that's it. But obviously, you change it for different jobs. We do accents and if I have to do American, I have an American green card, so I go up for a lot of stuff in America. So obviously, then you
shift,
adjust accordingly. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because I have a tendency to. I've worked and lived in America as well, so I think my American accent is pretty American. I mean, sometimes they're like, "Are you from the Midwest somewhere?" Like they can't really place my accent.
Yeah.
But I do tend to, even in Sweden, to change sometimes through, when I meet someone with a different dialect. So if I suddenly start speaking like British, not proper British, but I might just change around a bit, then just ignore it, please.
I might go totally LA at some point, so
I know. I have so many friends in LA.
To start getting up on every sentence. So, but but you have to be a bit of a chameleon anyway. So it's good. I tend to go. People can't really place me. Sometimes they go, "Are you Irish? Are you American? Are you Australian?" There is a little something there. And if you get really nervous or really drunk, then the splashy Swedish S's start to come in. So it's the Z sound that we don't have in Swedish. That's when I think that you give away you're a Scandinavian.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So did you train at all in Sweden, or because I know you did training in England, but so just let us know, who are you? How did you start singing or acting or dancing? Like, how did it all start for you?
Well, I wasn't that much of a theatrical kid. I went to dance classes like a lot of other kids. I went to school choir, and I liked singing and dancing, but I never had it as a kid, like I want to be an actress. But we went to London quite a lot as a family, and we used to watch musicals when we came over here. So, and I went to the theatre quite a lot back home in Helsingborg, my hometown. I had an interest, but never really knew that I really wanted to be an actress until quite late, I think, compared to a lot of other people. But it was like when I was around 17, 18, I started doing amateur dramatics at my college, and then I thought, well, that might be a thing. I wasn't really sure whether I should be a professional equestrian. I did a lot of horse riding.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Yeah. Stop right here. So, whoa, because yes, I used to do a lot of show jumping, and I was always an amateur, but I did go down to Spain 2 years in a row and competed on the Sunshine Tour, on like the amateur tour, and did like 140 jumping with. Wow. So I did a lot of show jumping, and I love horses, so yay.
So do I. Horses forever.
Horses forever. Okay, we're gonna have so much to talk about. Okay, let's move on. Horses, we love them.
Yeah, I grew up with, we have horses at home in a riding school, so I grew up with horses, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And then when I graduated when I was 18, I was like, I want to go to England. So I went over to Cambridge to do get my certificate of proficiency in English, a couple of language courses, so I could apply for whatever I wanted to apply for afterwards. And then I came back home. And then I did apply to a couple of drama schools in London, and I didn't get into one single one because I think, quite frankly, I was rubbish. If I think back, I wouldn't admit me either. So I think they did a good thing. I mean, I was devastated when I did all my rejection letters, crying at home, thinking my life was over. But then I did a couple of summers at a theatre in Helsingborg called Fredriksdalsteatern.
Okay.
I worked there in the summers, and I used to sell programs. I used to rent out blankets. I graduated, so I was then backstage. I was a dresser, and then on the final summer, I got to graduate up to be in 2 numbers, like I got to be like villager number 3 from the left, and I got to be in the end, the big number at the end. And I started to think, like, well, this is fun. Maybe you can do this for real. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have a look at other, avenues to go down this acting route. And then there was a new school in Malmo that opened, a musical theatre school called the Malmo Musical Academy. Unfortunately, that's no longer, but it was active for about 5 years, and I applied and I got in. So I studied for 2 years in Malmo, and then I still had my West End dreams. So I then applied for a couple of drama schools again, and this time I got in.
Yay.
So I came over to London to go to Mountview Academy of Theatre Arts, and I did a post-grad, so I did 1 year. So all in all, it was like 2 years in Sweden and 1 year in London.
Okay. And I mean, as far as I've been able to Google you, you've worked mostly in London, but you have done at least one show that I know of in Sweden, because you did Legally Blonde in Sweden as Elle would. And the reason I know this is because my friend Linda was in that show as well. I never got to see you, unfortunately, because I can't remember, but I was somewhere else doing something, so I missed it. But
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun show, and I wish I could have seen it.
We had so much fun. I love that show, and it was wonderful to be able to come home and do it like that. It was the European kind of premiere, so it's a funny story, because I auditioned for it a couple of times in the West End to take over when they were changing the lead girl, Sheridan Smith, who played it here. So they auditioned a few of us, and we had loads of rounds, and we were put on tape for the Americans to then make a decision. And at the end, after weeks and weeks of auditioning, she actually didn't leave, so she stayed on. I know, rude, right? No, but
rude.
But this happens all the time. It's happened to me like 4 or 5 times. You spend weeks and weeks, preparing and learning stuff, and all the the nerves and the anticipation and all that stuff, and then they just end up either not extending the show or not changing the cast. But that's just part of the deal. But they saved those tapes, so those tapes went over to America, and when they decided to do it in Sweden, they said, well, this girl is Swedish, so she'll be great. So I actually didn't have to audition at all.
That's great.
For the Swedish one, which was great. So at least I didn't do all those tapes, for nothing. So it's wonderful, and I think it's one of my favorite shows. I think a lot of people, when they hear Legally Blonde the musical, they're like, don't think so. But it works so well. It's so well written, with like heart and wit, and it's a powerful feminist story. And I think I loved it, and I loved it when I saw it in the West End, and I was thrilled to be part of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's the hardest thing. It's such a hard part. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, in terms of the singing range, and in terms of like being on stage the whole time, and like a high energy is like
I was just gonna say, it's high energy. That's for sure. Like I've done a few shows where I'm on stage constantly as well. Like I did Christine in Phantom.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I did Francesca quite recently in The Bridges of Madison County.
Oh yeah, love that.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say that's not a high energy show, but it's a high emotional show.
Yeah.
So like I was emotionally exhausted after you know, a Bridges performance. And so to play double shows, you're like,
yeah,
okay, let's go and get your whole heart broken again. You know,
that's sometimes even harder, because I've done like big, you know, dance shows and very high energetic shows with, you know, which is like sweaty. But then sometimes when you do the emotionally draining shows, that's sometimes even more difficult for your body, and you wake up the next morning, you go, wow, aches and pains, like I've been through a boxing match. But it's more about the mental aspect of it, and the challenge. But sometimes that's even harder. Like one of the most hardest shows in that aspect, from that aspect, that I've done was Fun Home, because I was so still all the way through, and I'm not very good at being still. So I think I went to the physiotherapist more than in any other show, you know, because I was like, I have so many aches and pains because I have to stand still and have so much repressed energy.
Right.
So it's bizarre what shows energize you or drains you. But I mean, God, we're very lucky to have experienced those kind of roles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't really think of, I mean, I haven't done any musicals after leaving school that was super high energy in terms of movement or such, because I've been more, I'm not that much of a dancer, so I've done more of, you know, like singing acting shows and singing acting parts with movement, obviously, because Christine moves. But I mean, those shows are draining in another way, as you said, like reloading for a second. Francesca is like, kill me now, you know, because she goes for like,
ooh. I've seen you. That was wonderful. I saw it on Broadway, and I saw it here in London, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful part.
Yeah, no, I saw it on Broadway as well. And I can tell you this, I was not mentally prepared going in there, because I mean, I had seen the film like years and years ago when I went in to see the show, and I was like, this is a great story, let's see what they do with it. And you know, I went alone as well, I must say. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun, but like, this is going to be great. And then at the end of the show, like I was crying, like snot everywhere. I hadn't brought any tissues, no nothing. I was a complete wreck after seeing that show. I was like, okay, I had to go, like, I remember, you know, walking out of the theater looking like someone had probably died, and going to the nearest bar and ordering wine, like, and they were like, are you okay? I'm like, I just watched the Bridges of Madison County. And they're like, okay, here's your wine, lady.
But isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful that theater can do that to us?
Exactly.
That's so exciting, and I miss it. And I want to be in a theater, and I want to be snotty, and I want to cry and laugh, and I want to clap, and I can't bloody wait for theater to come back into life again, because it's an extraordinary thing.
Yeah,
and you know,
it really is. And
such a beautiful art form.
Everyone I've talked to on this show as well say the same thing. It's the energy that happens in the room, in the live performance, in the live moment between audience and actors. I mean, that's where the magic happens, and you cannot.
Exactly, the seconds between you. So even if you sit in the audience or you're
part of the show, you need to understand
that kind of the fizzling kind of seconds before the curtain comes up, whether you're in the stalls or whether you're in, you know, behind the curtain. It's magic. It's magic. There's no other way to explain it.
No, and you cannot recreate that digitally. It's just not possible. It has to happen in the moment. And sometimes, you know, I feel like you have to explain this to the audience as well, because some people think that they're going to the movies and like, oh, whatever I do or like won't affect this performance. Like your energy, what you're putting out or giving back to, like it's a living organism. That's why every show is different, because every audience is different. Every night or every show is different, because the energy that happens between the people in the audience and the people on stage, that's what creates that performance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's and when people ask you like, well, can you see people using the phones in the audience, and can you hear people talking, and you're like, every single thing we notice, like don't get away with it.
Oh my god, like
but if I'm an audience member, I am such a massive shusher. I shush people left and center. I tell them off for eating, tell them off for having their phones up, tell them off for talking. I'm all for clapping and laughing and being excited what's happening. You don't have to be, dead quiet, but that sort of stuff, it's just, I can't bear it.
Yeah. I remember in one show, again, Bridges of Madison County, and I come out in the opening number, and, Francesca is kind of alone for 7 minutes with a cello, and on the front row, I'm not kidding you, is a teenager who was probably dragged there by their parents, sitting with headphones and their phone looking at something else, because like this is gonna be a fucking boring evening, and you're front row, and you do that, and you're like,
they're always in the front row. I had it.
What the hell, for real? Like, and also me, like, first of all, I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm supposed to be doing on stage. I mean, I was this close to like, just stopping the show, because I got so unfocused by this person.
You should have just thrown it.
I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm trying to give everything to like 600 people in this theater. It was not a huge theater, so they're very close, and you see, and that the parents didn't say anything. Like, to me, it's mind-blowing. Why would you let your child sit there on the front row with headphones and we're not? You wouldn't do it at the movies. Sorry, I'm going off on a rant now, but it just made me furious.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm like,
Jesus.
I'm
not a machine. We're not watching TV at home. Like, if that's your like interest level, then just leave. And let us do this thing. Like, it's incredible what people can do. And I have done an interview with Fred Johansson.
I love Fred.
And I saw him on Broadway in Sunset Boulevard, and I was at the very show when Glenn Close stopped the show because someone was taking pictures.
I love that.
Oh, so in the middle of With One Look, and she's so into it, and and you, for a second, you don't know if it's part of the show or what's happening, but she's like, stop, just stop. And like Kristen Blodgett, who was conducting, like the whole orchestra, 40 people in the orchestra, like everything stopped, and she's like, you who are sitting here taking pictures during this show, and she went off on this rant. And I was like, I was terrified, because someone is getting yelled at by Glenn Close. And I was like, if I was that person, I would want to be dead right now. You know what? We're trying to create something here. And, I'm losing all my focus and everything that I need to be doing to give everyone in here a great experience. And you're ruining it for everybody.
Yeah. So. No, I mean, I can't. It's so hard. And I think I guess people just don't realize that how vulnerable you feel up there, and B, how much you can actually see. And also, come on, guys, even if you have your phone in your bag, your face is going to be lit up. So don't be stupid. And I had a girl, the same, I guess, a bored teenage girl, bless her, didn't want to go to the theatre, fair enough. But she'd been given a massive bag of popcorn instead, like a big rustly bag of popcorn, like you were in the cinema. And she was on the front row. Why are they always on the front row?
I don't know.
And we just started the first number. We came out, We did the whole opening sequence on my way, and all I could see and hear was the crunch and her rustling. And then as we set up for the first scene, I went straight over in character and said, "Oh my God, popcorn, I'll have that, thank you so much." And I took her bag of popcorn.
Well, I mean,
and then I continued to eat popcorn on stage, and I was like, yeah, in character. And then she looked very scared of me, and she was like, she couldn't believe I did that, and she was dead still after that. So sometimes.
But in a show, well, I mean, in a show like that, you can do it in character. Like you can't break that wall with Francesca and Bridges of Madison County and like, oh, by the way, what is, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing you can do. But I've seen similar things happening in more like comedy shows, because there you can sort of around it or do something fun with it. But when you're in like a very sort of dramatic show, like it just doesn't work. So
no.
But good for you.
Yeah, good for Glenn. Good for Patty.
Yeah, good for them. Yes. So anyways, okay, so you did your education in London and stayed there, obviously. So what was like your first working experience professionally?
So I was lucky in the sense that I got at the end of the year, we had a graduation kind of showcase where agents come to see you. You do it in a West End theatre in an afternoon, and luckily I got picked by an agent, so that was nice. And then about 2 weeks later, I had my first audition, which was for Mamma Mia in the West End. They were recasting, so I was a bit lucky that had come around at that time, because the big West End shows normally recast once a year. And then I guess I was lucky as well that they were looking for someone that looked a bit like me. So I started that audition process. I think I had about 4 or 5 auditions, and I got that. So that was my first professional job in London after college.
Oh wow!
Mamma Mia.
Speaking about high energy shows.
Yeah, absolutely. It was incredible, because I was the first Swede ever to be in Mamma Mia, which was great.
Cool.
So that created a bit of excitement back home.
Yeah.
And this was in, when was it, 2001? So Mamma Mia was still quite fresh, and it was not that it's not fresh now, but it was quite, the buzz around it was still quite, exciting, and and we got to meet all the ABBAs, and we it was the audiences, they were going crazy. I mean, it's such a fun
I know. Yeah.
Because people love it, and how can you not be happy when you hear ABBA, right? Well, if you don't go and see the show. But like, I think it was such an incredible first job for me, and I actually think I learned more that year than I did in my year in college, because there's just so much stuff that you just can't be taught in school, that you then learn from watching all the wonderful people around you, and listening, and just experiencing just the sheer fact of doing 8 shows a week. That's not something that you can prepare for. So all that stuff was a really, really good
and I think that's a really important thing that you're bringing up here, because a lot of the young people going to musical theatre school, training to become musical theatre performers, think that once you finish school, you're finished, like that's your education. And like that's where it starts. Absolutely. School is just to give you like the basic tools. After that is when like you start adding things to your like huge suitcase of like experience. And so like school is really just the very, very beginning. And I think that is it should also be a comforting thing, because like I was so stressed to know everything, by the end of my 3 years at the Ballet Academy musical theater that I did for 3 years. And like, I couldn't wait to get out there and work and just be a professional. But it's really not until you start doing exactly what you said, to get out there and you learn from your colleagues. And again, the fact 8 shows a week, that kind of thing. I mean, in Sweden, we rarely do 8 shows a week. I don't think that's been the case for a long, long time. I don't think we've ever had a show here that's done 8 shows a week.
No, but I think we did 6 shows with a couple of weeks with Legally Blonde, and people, my Swedish colleagues were like, "Oh my God, 6 shows a week," and I'm like, "Honey, come over to the West End. We'll show you hard work."
So exactly. No, I mean
4 shows a week, and I was like, "This is amazing! 4 shows. That's
yeah. So... I've done the 8 shows a week a few times, and it's hard.
Yeah. I remember we had in Mamma Mia that first year we had something that we used to call it Dog Day Friday, because we had a late matinee, which was like 5 o'clock, I think we started on Fridays, and then we used to do the big mega mix in the end. Show finished, you're sweaty, you go up to, we had our dressing room on the 4th floor. You're walking up the stairs, as you hear over the tannoy, the speakers, they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your half-hour call for the second show." So we used to actually get the call for the second show whilst walking back up from the first show. And that was like, right, get up, have a quick shower, get your sweaty clothes off, have half a sandwich, and then at it again. But actually, we used to quite like it because you were still full of energy. So you were just like, all right, let's just do it again. And then, you finished a bit earlier. So, but then you had to do 2 shows the next day. But Dog Day Fridays, I don't think they do them anymore. I think it's normally now like a Wednesday or a Thursday matinee and then Saturday.
That's crazy.
That was something. I know. Yeah. It was exciting though. It was good.
Yeah.
You can do it when you're young and full of energy.
In our business, the show must go on is a real thing. So like I've played phantom shows where I've had, a temperature and been like quite sick actually, but just because my voice still works, I will do the show,
Yeah.
So
Dr. kicks in, so you just have to do it.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's actually interesting how that will possibly change after COVID. I don't know.
No, it's tricky, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, at the moment, when they started, because obviously we had a bit of a false start about a month back or before Christmas, a couple of shows that started up again, and they had such a rigorous scheme in place to be COVID safe in terms of like testing people every day, temperature checks all the time, social distancing, masks and everything. And I think it was really sad, actually. I had a lot of friends who were very disappointed when they kind of closed down the theatres again, because I think, I didn't hear of anyone getting sick on those jobs, even when they started letting the audience in, and there was social distancing in the audience as well, and mask wearing. So I don't know, it's going to be different times ahead, and I think it's going to be a challenge, but hopefully with more and more vaccinations we can get back to
Do you have any idea, or do you like what is the talk on the town, so to speak? When do people predict that you will be up and running in London again?
Well, I think Andrew Lloyd Webber is kind of spearheading the campaign for opening up again. I think his new musical Cinderella is set to open in May. I know they've started rehearsals, and so because you're allowed to rehearse but not do it for an audience. So a couple of people are already rehearsing, but obviously those are the big shows with money. So I don't know, but then it can all change again if the government decides to close down the theatre again. But I think late spring. So, and I've been auditioning for things that might start rehearsing in May, June to open in the autumn season, the fall season.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will still go ahead. But hopefully late spring. But you just never know.
No, and I've been following Andrew Lloyd Webber on social media as well, and he's done so much for the theatre industry, or at least he's tried. And I think it's incredible to see how dedicated he has been, because obviously he doesn't need the money,
No, exactly.
But just his love for theatre and musical theatre and the live performance. He was one of the first people, I think, that got vaccinated as well.
Well, he was doing the trials. He was even in the vaccine trials. I know. Yeah. No, it is good. And he's using his fame and fortune for good, I think, because he could just sit back and keep his theatres in the dark, and then just wait it out. But he's been very vocal about it, which is great. And also, he's probably the most famous musical theatre person in the world that, that average Joe will know. So
yeah,
you know, it's good to have someone like that speak for the whole industry.
yeah,
whether
absolutely.
whether you're a fan of his shows or not, it's a very good thing to do when you're to use your fame for good.
Yeah. And I also, just to move ahead here, read that you have a green card, and so you've been in America as well. Like, how did that happen? You've been everywhere.
Well, yeah, I won the green card lottery.
Really?
The famous green card lottery, yeah.
And that's real?
It's a real thing, the diversity visa lottery, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I entered it a couple of years running because I had friends who did it. So I thought, well, we might as well. And you check it every year and you go, no, I haven't been selected. But yeah, I was selected a few years back, and it's been great. So I have a residency in New York as well, and I go over quite a few times a year, and I'm represented over there as well. So I audition for things, and so far nothing has really worked out because I've been working here or done other things. But it's a really nice thing to have because America especially is hard in terms of auditioning people from the outside. So unless you have a green card, a lot of the times they won't even see you. You can't even audition. So yeah, I've had incredible auditions for Broadway stuff and really scary auditions and a whole different kettle of fish. West End and Broadway are very different.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the differences? Like, what have you seen? What some of the some of the differences that you've noticed between West End and London, maybe in terms of auditions then, or just the culture in general?
Yeah, I mean, what I think is wonderful about America and about Broadway and the New York scene in general is how much they revere the art form and they take it very seriously. Maybe that's an American thing, or maybe it's because it's a bigger country and there's a lot of people fighting for not as many jobs. So it's revered and it's respected in a way. I'm not saying that people in London don't respect it, but there's just a different attitude. They take it very seriously, which is great sometimes. And sometimes you kind of want to go, oh, just, relax. It's not brain surgery. Let's just have fun. Sometimes it can feel a bit more rigid. I think British people are quite good at not taking themselves so seriously and maybe play more. But saying that, though, the thing is, if you go to Broadway, you will see people at the very, very top of the game, right? I think in terms of triple threats, people who can do everything, I think they have a greater concentration on Broadway of those people who are incredible dancers, incredible singers, and they're like Broadway machines. And I really respect that. And then in terms of auditions, I've had some really scary auditions. I think they have bigger panels. It's just more people in the room and there's less chit chat. I think if you audition for stuff here in London, especially if you've done it for a while, you start to get to know people, you have a nice chat, you go, hey, what have you been up to? This and this, isn't the weather horrible, blah, blah, blah. And then in America, you're like, no chit chat. You go in, they basically don't say anything. They don't introduce people. You just have to go there. You have to do your things. You're like, okay, sing your song, please. And then you sing your song or you do the scenes. And there's not much feedback unless they want to give you some acting notes and you do it again. But yeah, it seems like there's a more serious vibe in those rooms. And I think I was a bit shocked the first couple of times when I did those auditions because I felt like a country bumpkin coming in like, hi guys, I've just flown in. And then like nothing, not a titter, not a smile. No. Okay. And then you start talking even more because you get nervous. And then, but you learn it the hard way by not getting stuff. So then once I started to play the game and kind of hold back a bit, I got further down in the audition processes and I was calmer. And it's just fun. I mean, it's been incredible. And it's also the rooms you go in and, you're on the 42nd, floor of some incredible building with big casting suites and you have the Manhattan skyline, next to you and you go, pinch yourself sometimes to just go, I'm actually in these rooms.
Yeah.
This is an incredible experience. So
no, I've been lucky enough to go to a few auditions on Broadway as well, and it's been different. But I mean, really good experiences. But So it's just,
you don't seem sure.
Yeah, but I've also done some like weird ass auditions in London. Like, I auditioned so many times for Les Mis when I was younger because they called me in a lot for Cosette, and I never got it. I was several times it was like down between me and another girl, and they always picked the other girl because she was smaller. And I had one experience where, for some reason, I like, and you know, I feel like I dreamed this, but I didn't, because I was actually
dream?
What? I dreamed a dream. No, no, but I got a call back for Cosette, and they also sent me the sides for Eponine, because for some reason, I think they were thinking of me as a cover Eponine, like. And I don't even know why you would be doing Cosette and a cover Eponine. It's completely two different, like voice types. I don't understand. But anyway, and normally when I went to audition for Les Mis, I had done my previous auditions at the theater on stage. So, but this time I had to go to the Cameron Mackintosh office.
Yep, I've been there.
Yeah, and I was called in to this like tiny room
with no acoustics.
What?
With no acoustics.
No, and like carpet on the floor, and you know, like these people. It was like maybe two or three people behind the desk, and then like an electrical piano, someone playing like right next to you, and you know, like it was so weird. And I had to do the whole audition in this tiny, tiny room. And I was like, it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you just all have to put, I mean, if you get £1 for each audition you've done,
just like
the church hall, or like, there's always like, you know, yeah, you just have to get on with it. You learn
but the experience of like walking into the Cameron Mackintosh office and like, this is where you're going to audition now, and you're like, what? Okay, let's do it.
Yep. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, we're lucky. You have to also kind of stop sometimes and think, I'm very lucky. People dream about these things and getting these communities, and they're great experiences, and you know, great for the book of life. Makes great good stories, if nothing else, right?
Absolutely. I don't know if you would agree with me, but one of the coolest experiences that I found on your or in your biography when I was reading about you was Sweet Charity.
Yeah, I love her. I love little Charity Hope Valentine. I'm in love with her, and that was a dream come true, actually. And I did that it's a wonderful theatre in Manchester called the Royal Exchange, which is in the Round. So you have the audience on 3 levels. You have a complete round space, a beautiful theatre built in the 70s within the Royal Exchange of Manchester. And it's such a special place, and I don't know, I've dreamt about doing that part. I mean, I did a few songs from it when I was way back when I was at college in Malmo, and ever since then I've always dreamt of doing it. I love the film, I love Shirley MacLaine, you know, so when I got offered that, it was really a dream come true, and that's all such a wonderful part, and exhausting again. And if you play it in the Round, there's no letter, you know, you're never off stage, there's always someone who can see you, so you know, it's a very special medium to do it in the Round, but really exciting because you feel the audience very close to you, almost on top of you, so it feels very intimate and very special. And yeah, I mean, I've never been so skinny in my life because you just run around a lot. It's like you burn calories just walking on that stage. And we had 5 different exits. And I remember the first time when we had tech rehearsals, the first time they switched all the lights off outside, because it was like as a real show. And I couldn't find my entrance. I was running round and round and round and couldn't find my entrance.
Oh no!
There's so many different exits and entrances, and I was like crying and like shouting. I was like, "You have to stop the show! I can't find my door." They had to put like numbers on the door so we knew. Like,
well, yeah, if it's all round as well.
Like, I don't know where it is. So I was like running around. So yeah, I learned that the hard way. But yes, it's a beautiful show. I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm very, very lucky to have done it. And yeah, I mean, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I love that girl. She's amazing.
Yeah. So would you say that's one of your top experiences? Like if you would name like your top 3 shows or like working experiences, what would they be?
I mean, each job is special for a different reason, right? And it's either the part itself, or it's the place it's in, the theatre, or the director, or the cast. You know, I've done some flop shows where you know, I've met some of the most wonderful people ever that I'm still, you know, very good friends with. So, but in terms of parts, yes, Charity and Sweet Charity was incredible. That will always be one of my favorites. I think playing Alison in Fun Home was also very special for me, because it was, again, it's a beautiful show that with a beautiful real story, and you get to portray a real person, and this real person, Alison Bechdel, happened to come and see us, and I got to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got to work with the original Broadway team, who they came over to direct us, and so that was a very special experience in itself. The whole experience, not just the part, but being part of a show that I respect so much. I think was wonderful. So Fun Home, Charity, and last year I got to play Violet, another Janine Tesori show. I love Janine Tesori, so that was also an incredible thing to be able to do 2 Janine Tesori shows. Violet is also one of those wonderful, wonderful women that you fall in love with, and you will love them for the rest of your life. You just can't not. So yeah, maybe those 3. And then also, I mean, I'm a massive Sondheim buff as well. So the fact that I've been able to do Sunday in the Park with George and A Little Night Music here in the West End, and been able to do that, and met Stephen Sondheim, and him being able to see us, and you know, if I could do one, you know, shows by one author alone, I would do Stephen Sondheim shows till I die, right? I'm a huge Sondheim buff, so I can't choose. That's the answer.
No, and it's kind of an unfair question as well, because it's like you said, almost every job has something that's really special about them. So yeah, it was a dumb question actually, but I got you to talk. I got you talking about the shows, so yay.
Yeah. No, but like you've done, even if you do shows that you kind of, you know, you don't do massive parts, or you might not be huge fans of the shows, but you always learn something, and you always like take something away from it. Like you know, I have some of my best friends from the flop shows that I've done, you know, because in adversity you tend to create really strong bonds. So
yeah, I know. That's
you have
funny.
a good time, then you make good friends quite often.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I like to talk about are, you know, like just sort of things that's gone wrong on stage. Because it's always fun for people to hear about those things, especially since most of the time when things do go wrong, the audience still never picks up on, because we're so good at hiding it. Sometimes, but then there are those like massive things that go wrong. And I'm not going to bring that up again, because if you watch this Tocca talks or have listened to my podcast in Swedish, you will know some of the really horrific things that's happened to me on stage. So I'll just pass the ball to Kaisa here.
Yes, I mean, the ones that stick out are obviously the ones that people would definitely have noticed. Like my first job, for example, Mamma Mia, I had a big old fake ponytail. I swished that around a lot, and that ended up in the front row at one point during the mega mix.
No!
Yeah, this poor frightened Japanese boy had to give it back to me on stage.
And my God.
and my not very supportive, castmates were all like basically pointing and laughing at me on stage. So
yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks guys, it's all right. You couldn't really hide that. So I just continued the mega mix, swinging the ponytail around.
Well, at least it was in a number and in this situation where you can get away with it though.
Yeah. We also, the audience have behaved badly at times. I remember doing a little night music when we did it at the Menier chocolate factory before we moved to the West End, which it's quite an intimate space, and it's a small space, and the audience are on the same level as you. And we had a gentleman who was somewhat inebriated and had quite a few drinks, I think, before he went to see the show, who decided to get up in the middle of the show to try and find the toilet. He couldn't find the toilet, and he decided to go into the wings. There was two kind of cloths, black cloths hanging down, and he decided to just start to pee up against one of them in the middle.
What?
In the middle of
no
liaisons, which is a very quiet number with one woman in a wheelchair singing.
No. Oh my God, no.
And someone started to. We were all backstage, and we were like, "What is happening?" We could hear that Maureen, who was playing Madame Armfeldt, kind of stopped singing, and she was like, we were like, "What's going on? What's happening? Has she forgot her words?" No, it was this gentleman who was peeing up against the stage. So yeah, one of our stage managers basically grabbed him, went on stage, grabbed him backstage, and then pushed him out. Obviously, he was not let back into the theatre. So yeah,
obviously not. Jesus.
Yeah, kind of smelly after that.
Ew.
Yeah. So there we go. Show must go on.
Yes. Still, though.
And then stuff always happens. Not one show is like the other, right? There's always something. And I'm a really bad corpser, as we say. I'm quite easy to get to giggle on stage. I tend to be quite rubbish. And if and people know this as well, so it's pretty bad. But as long as you have supportive castmates who kind of decide to do their pranks, at times when you can kind of get away with it. We used to play little games. This is kind of, probably not okay, but we used to play little games in Mamma Mia. 6 months into a show, it's the 6th show of the week. You play little games like, pass the sweet, or we have these really nice sweets called Percy Pigs, and Marks and Spencer sweets. So we used to pass the Percy Pig. So you have to give it to people during the show, preferably in a not in a really cool way, so it's almost seen but not. And so this sweaty Percy Pig, and whoever ends up with it in the end have to eat.
Ew.
Yeah, I know, it's gross, right? But it's something to do. And we've played Wink Murder on stage as well. I don't know with the Swedish equivalent. You have to, someone is the murderer, and if you get blinked at, you have to die, but you have to do it in a way, they have to see you die, but obviously you can't just die on stage, but you have to do it in a way so that your castmates can see it, but not the audience. This is highly unprofessional, but very much fun. And I also happen to know that Dame Judi Dench has also played Wink Murder on stage, and if Dame Judi Dench can do it, then we can do it.
I love this.
Yeah.
Not recommended from the producer side of me.
No.
But I do understand what happens when you've played a show for a long time and you play 8 shows a week. The stuff that we would come up with in Ludwig, for example, we had a scene where the king, it was like a dream sequence where he's flying a hot air balloon and supposedly around the world, and he sees all these different things during this flight. And one of the things that was supposed to happen was that 2 Japanese, geisha people, women come in and they sing to him a short thing in Japanese. And we were all of us were white people, and we thought it was hilarious to dress up when you were. They were all not the same people doing it every show. So when you had to do the geisha girl, like there was so much bullshit going on during because it was also a dream sequence, and we were like, no one understands Japanese anyway, and you know, it was just yeah. But we did, like, I wasn't part of that particular show, but there were two girls that went too far, like one evening, and they got told off, and then we sort of pulled ourselves together again. But
yeah, fair enough. I think you can do it for, there's a certain, I think
it just escalated, you know.
Exactly. But I think it's good to do little things for, like, it's good for the morale, it's good for the, you know, the community feel on stage, and I think you can see if an ensemble, you know, they're actually having fun together. But yes, of course, there is a limit, and I've also been part of, you know, instances where we've had a stern telling off in the next session because they've been able to see it, obviously. But plus you just can't help yourselves. I mean, people fall over all the time. That's mainly why I laugh at, you know, how can you not laugh when your castmates?
Yeah, but it's horrible when it happens in a situation where, you know, like, I've mainly done serious shows, you know, and like, you're not allowed to laugh then. I had a situation in Phantom of the Opera where Christine runs off up on the roof. The Phantom has just killed someone downstairs. She's supposed to be like hysterical and scared, and you're in this huge dress because, you know, they had just done this opera thing downstairs, and you run up the stairs and you come out on the roof, and you know, she's crying, and Raoul comes after her, and then he says like, Christine, Christine, and then she hears the Phantom, Christine, and then she has like a panic attack. And so you're supposed to run back toward, like, with your back to the audience, run upstage, and like look around and then run to Raoul, and then you start All I Ask of You. And I don't know what happened, but I tripped on the dress and I fell like a freaking, you know, like a tree in the woods, like boom. And this dress is really big and it's really difficult to get up.
You have to use it. It's her angst.
When you've fallen down in a dress like that, you don't simply get up.
No.
So, you know, I'm like some sort of bug trying to get back on my feet in time for him to start, you know, I don't know what the first line of All I Ask of You is, but it was that was one of the other, like, you don't want to fall down in one of these huge dresses that also weigh like, I don't know how much. It was, and you can't start laughing.
No, I know.
Because it's Phantom of the Opera.
But it's when you're not allowed, that's when you want to laugh.
It's horrible. It's so horrible. Like when I finally got up and I, you know, get into Raoul's arms, like I hid my face in his chest and I was laughing so hard and just trying to calm myself down enough to actually be able to sing to him when I had to start singing my part. And I think people probably thought I was crying.
Hopefully. That's
hopefully.
She's so emotional.
Yeah, because I was like, tears were streaming down my face from like trying not to laugh. It was, those are the worst. I mean, you've played a lot of like comedy and high energy stuff though. I always like die, or you know, someone else dies and it's all horrible and everyone cries and it's just sad.
Yeah, luckily you can kind of get away with it if it's a more high energy part. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning I tend to always be cast as the, you know, the funny best friend. I think that was my casting for a long time. So I think I'm short. Yes, I'm short. I'm 5'2", 157. Yeah,
so you're petite, so you're that, you know, I get it.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm awful. So I'm glad I haven't had to be really serious and try and suppress laughter in a serious part, because I would fail miserably.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never had to play a really funny show. I wish that at some point I will be allowed to play something like a comedy. Before we end this, I would like to ask you if there's like any advice you have or something that you would like to say to the younger generation, the upcoming musical theater people who are, you know, just like finishing school or are still at school or just got out of school, you know, the people that are eventually going to keep this tradition going, and who might be feeling a bit discouraged about the COVID situation and whatnot. But any words of advice in general for them?
Don't do it.
Stop.
No, joking. It's the best thing. Come on, dream big. No, but
I'm trying to be serious. Like, see, this is what happens. She's the funny one. I'm like the serious, like crying one. Now go. Say something serious.
No, but the thing is, it's the most wonderful profession. And if you can't think of doing anything else, then this is what you should be doing, and stay true to that. I think we're all in a bit of a funk at the moment, and it's very difficult for all of us. But I also think that we can think positively about this period in time, because I think it will also highlight the fact that we need the theatre arts and the creative arts. People will realize that we can't do without it. And I think a lot of creative minds will you know, have the cogs and wheels running at the moment, because people will always create and people will always find outlets of creating. And I think at the moment we all have to be a little bit more creative in our thinking of what can I do? How can I put myself out there? How can I create more content like you're doing, for example? You know, we're talking about it, and this is a good thing. I think we just have to sit tight and hang on in there. And I think using this time to learn more about your craft and your the history of theatre, and just educate yourself in general, and keep doing your singing exercises. For example, sometimes I don't want to do it, but I have to tell myself, you know, no, come on, you have to keep your instruments, you know, going, do your singing exercises, build your portfolio, watch films. There's a lot of online content at the moment. You can, you know, follow people on Instagram. There's a lot of stuff you can do, so you can still feel a part of a community, because I think that's at the moment what's important for all of us, is to feel a sense of community.
Yes, and so you can also subscribe to this channel and be part of subscribe. No, but seriously, because I think what I'm trying to do with the help of like all you people who are now part of like the interview shows, or people sending singing videos to the channel, like the whole idea is that we're trying to create a platform for all of us where we can both share content, which we can then get out to more people, because if we collect it all in one place, we're all going to win, you know, because we'll all have more people watching. But also the magical thing that I already see happening with this is that a lot of different collaborations are starting to happen with people who didn't know each other before, or from different countries. You know, like I now have a singer in Germany who's going to do something with a singer in Sweden, and they had never met before, but because of this, they are now talking about collaborations. And so I think that's another great outlet, and you know, just find you know, find spaces or you know, opportunities like this, or you know, I'm sure there are a million others, but you know, just find it and start creating. And I have a saying that I use a lot, and it's, if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no.
Of course, yeah.
So start asking for what you want. You know, like when I started thinking about doing this interview show on YouTube, I reached out to you. We didn't know each other, but I'm just going to send her a message and see what happens. And now, you know, we're talking, and not only getting this interview done, but I feel really excited about, you know, possibly doing other things together. And like my mind is already like working overtime of all the sort of inspiration and ideas that are popping up. So I think that's important as well. Yeah. Reach out to people.
People have time. I mean, what's good about this time now is that people have time on their hands. So we have time now. We have time to help each other out. And I think it's sometimes it can feel a bit overwhelming, it can feel a bit lonely, but you're not lonely. There is a community there, and I think we just all have to be a bit better at reaching out and helping each other out. And I'm doing some. I have a couple of Swedish students that are going to drama schools in London at the moment, and I've been helping them to try and prepare them for. I mean, they've been doing online courses for the last term, right? And that's not easy. And helping them in terms of trying to give some information about stuff that I know about the industry here, that they might be able to learn something about that before they get out there. And I don't know, we all have to help each other out. I think the be kind mantra is more important now than ever, because I think there's no such thing as like sharp elbows and getting ahead. That sometimes I think this industry has a bit of a reputation for being like harsh. That's not my experience, and I think we all have to take responsibility to not be that,
right?
To live up to that hype, because I think the more we can help each other out, and if we hear about something that someone else might be right for, or if you reach out to people, then we're all going to benefit from it. So I think I couldn't
agree more. That are some wise and good words to end this interview with. Thank you so much, Kaisa, for being on my show and talking to me. I can't wait to see what you're up to next. If you want to find Kaisa online, I will put all her information in the description of the video, all her social media handles, anything you might need to or want to know about Kaisa Hammarlund. I'm really excited that you were here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was so much fun. Take care, everyone.
Bye.